Here I've got the Essential D1 Performance Beat Machine, it's called, from Donner, and it's a sample-based drum machine. If you don't know who Donner are, they're a musical instruments manufacturer who make instruments of all sorts of shapes and sizes, and over the past couple of years they've been making more music techy sort of things that have come to my attention. Oh, well, this was the first one that came to my attention. It's the B1, it's their take on the TB303, and it's a great little instrument. It's got saturation built in, it's got delay built in, and it's just much easier to use than the 303. If you've got those style things, do have a look at that actually, because you can get this for like $99, which at that price is almost like a couple of pizzas, isn't it? It's insanely good, which is probably why they sent me this one to have a look at. And if you look at them, you can obviously see they're from the same family, and this is a nice little unit actually. Even though it's quite small, it's about 620 grams, I think it says. It doesn't feel flimsy in any way. It feels nice and solid and robust. It doesn't feel like the most expensive bit of kit, but when you look at something like this, which is my TR606, that's been around for 40 years, it feels just as durable as that. And having played with this an awful lot, this is the sort of thing you'd much prefer to take on the road than this. So I've been spending a fair bit of time actually sampling old drum machines like this and putting them into this. I've got another one on the table in front of me I've just been doing over the last, well, this morning really. This is the HR16 from Alesis. So I've been sampling those and putting them into the Essential D1, and I will upload the samples and I'll put a link in the description. I've got hundreds of the things now. I've got some 8-bit ones and some 12-bit crunchy ones from all sorts of classic drum machines. I've organised them in the way the folders work in the D1 themselves. I'll explain what I'm talking about in a minute. But you can see I've got CR78, 808, 909. These are all 12-bit sort of crunchy samples through the S950. And then some nice clean samples as well from the 606 and the CR78, as well as the DMX, the Drumtrax, and the HR16, as we've just seen. But before I go into that, I'll just run through the drum machine quickly. It's a really nice little fun bit of kit, this. It's not too complex. You can pick it up without the manual. I managed to, at least myself. And it's, you know, it's got things like parameter locks on there. It's got songs, it's got beats, it's got kits, and it's got 4 gig of memory in it. So there's an awful lot of stuff, which is why I started throwing different drum machines in, really. So yeah, let's just take a look at this first, shall we? It's got 12 channels of sample playback on these coloured pads here. And these are all 44 kilohertz 16-bit WAVs, and you can see them named just above the pad. So bass drum, snare drum, low tom, hand clap, closed hat, open hat, high tom, and crash. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I was showing you the folders. When you load stuff into this, you load them onto the specific pad from a folder, and that's for that pad. And I'll show that in a second. Then we've got these 4 rows for random samples across the top. We've got level sliders here. When you wiggle a level, you get a level on the display. We move through bank A, B, and C, and everything changes colour. Looks very nice. The bottom row here are for things like fills. We've got fill A and fill B, and then we've got rolls, so for play some. Yeah, maybe not the best program to have done that on. So I'll show you really. Let's load a new song. So if we go into the menu, song, load, you'll notice I keep on touching these while I do this. These are touch sensitive, so if you touch any of these, you instantly get something popping up on the menu. Be nice if they turn that off. Holly end stuff does that as well, and if you've got fat fingers like me, it can be a bit annoying at times. So anyway. So fun little bits, and along the bottom here as well, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in these songs, we have 4 beats in the songs, and then we have 2 fills as well. The beats themselves, if we go into beat, actually if we go to shift beat and edit it, we can see we can have 4 bar, 3 bar, 2 bar, or 1 bar. And then we've got quantize on or off as well, and step velocity, because obviously you can record in step mode or you can record in live mode. And again, look at that in a second. If we look at the beats, got 1, 2, 3, and 4 popping up there. So as we play, So that was playing fills there. It's quite a complex beat to do that on, really. So it's difficult to hear what's happening. But let's load another song, maybe, shall we? So we're going to the menu, going to the song. Let's load house, shall we? And play this one. And I haven't programmed them myself. This comes with 16 pre-programmed songs and all the samples from Loop Masters. Really quite cool. Lots of different genres in there. We take another look. We're going to jack in 2. I love playing demos. You never know quite what you're going to get, do you? Anyway, back down to here. We've got beats. We've got kits. So these are all, as I say, built in, so we can use a different kit on the same pattern. And that'll come as no surprise that the final one was one of my vintage ones. But you've got songs, and those songs refer to the beats, and they refer to the kits as well. So you have to save your beats and your kits so that the song knows what it's referring to effectively. We've got a master effects section, which has got a compressor, reverb, and delay. The reverb and delay are send effects, and they can be sent to any of the pads. Got a tap tempo. We've also got a metronome shift. So they've got a little shift button here. So we've got solo, swing, metro. So let's just, I don't know. So mute. Or solo. Again, nice little performance things. But if we go into the kit, let's have a look at the kit. And let's go into one I've just been creating myself, shall we? Let's go to the Drumtrax. You'll see across the top, we've got access to various parameters. So if we hit let's come out of there just so that we can see what we're playing with. So bass drum, pitch, got decay. We've got parameter 1 and parameter 2. Now these are called parameter because they change depending on which of the pads you're using. So the kick has got distortion. Let's add a bit of decay onto that again so you can hear it better. Definitely distorting that, isn't it? And snare, what we got on the snare? Got resonance. And a cut-off, high pass. So you don't have access to every effect or every parameter on every one of these channels. You only get access to one or, well, to 2. And we've got this humanize as well, which is quite cool. Works when you're playing the sequencer, obviously. So, high tom. Got resonance. And a band pass. High pass. Crash. And oddly, the crash just seems to have one parameter. Parameter 2 doesn't seem to be doing anything. Just a high pass on that. And then on the samples themselves, we've got, I say samples themselves, they're all samples. But these ones, we have a start and end point. But we only get values between 0 and 127. So this isn't something whereby you're going to fine tune your sample. You can't loop it. You can't time stretch it. You can't do all those things that you might do on a much more expensive sample. On this, it's basically you get your sound ready and then you bring it in. So if you put like a loop in there at a certain time, it has to stay at that time because there's no way you can pitch it. But then again, on the pitch, you've only got semitone control on the pitch either. So you can't really tune anything in if you really need to do that. But coming over to the master effects, these are really nice actually. If we come to the reverb, for example, let's turn the reverb up on whatever that is. That sort of rim shot. So send reverbs up, go into the reverb, and let's turn the effects return up, that might help. And let's whack this up because it's really quite nice. Change the tone of it. So it's sort of filtered, and we do have a filter on there as well. But these are really nice sounding effects. Let's take a listen to the delay as well. And it does go into self-oscillation, which is really quite cool. Okay, let's make a beat. There's two ways you can do this. You can use step recording or you can use live recording. Let's select an empty beat. There's nothing in there. For step recording, press shift and sequence. Everything turns white. And now we can just input what we like. I'm just going to shift and beat to go into the beat edit. And I'm going to change that from 4 bars down to 1 bar. To look through the different bars, it's shift and 1, 2, 3, and 4 because you've got up to 4 bars of 16 steps, so 64 in total. So there's nothing playing there. Shift and select. So let's shift and select the snare. That's probably more like you'd want to do. Shift, closed hat. Let's take one of those out and let's add a open hat there. The closed hat doesn't choke the open hat. Would be nice to have that option actually. And that's all there is to it in step mode really. To record live, we'll just come out of the sequencer mode. We've got a metronome there, shift the metronome on or off, we don't really need it there. Let's just make that a little bit neater. Let's shorten that decay, and let's do that on that one step alone. If we push this and hold it, we go into parameter lock mode. So let's just change the decay on there, shall we? And we've got to press value to do that. If we go into the decay here, we do it for them all. So let's just hear what this sounds like. Let's do a really short one. And just to show that that is different on all the steps, let's program another one in. Now let's go to sequence mode again, and you'll notice these are flashing, and that's because they're out of time. But if we hold this, we can come back now up to substep. So if you look at this parameter lock menu, it's basically all these plus substeps, which are ratchets, and we can see we are well out on that. So we can quantize that. If we then go to quantize, and we'll quantize the low tom. Let's quantize that one. Oh, that's because I'm in parameter lock mode, so it's only locked that step, and then quantize, and then the low tom again, and now they're both in time. One thing you can't parameter lock though from across the top is the reverb and delay sends. We go back into the parameter lock mode. You can see that we've got all of these plus the ratchets, but we don't have the reverb or the delay send. So hopefully they could change that in a firmware update. I can't see that being a massive thing to implement. Let's look at the closed hats again. So shift, select the hats, and let's put a ratchet on the first one, shall we? So hold that, substeps, and then we can put hundreds on one if we want. Let's see. Quite nice that you can do it in a pattern. We've also got an undo down here, so we can undo anything that we've just done since we entered the record or the sequence mode. So if we press shift and undo, we've undone that. It does mean that when you're doing a performance, you can mess it up completely, undo it, and you go back to the recorded or the last saved version of it. And while we're in the hi-hats, actually, let's take a quick look at them, and we'll come out of the sequence mode and we'll go into the closed hi-hats, and we'll put some humanize on, shall we? So each of the hits is slightly different. We've also got swing down here, so let's shift swing. So quite cool. I'm not sure if I showed these faders yet, but let's just have a little play. I've sort of forgotten what I've done. We go into bank B. Back into bank A. Again, more stuff for your performance, but before you build your performance, obviously you're going to want to get some samples in there. So let's take a quick look at how you do that. We open the Tonne Control app, and on the left-hand side, we browse to the location on your computer. Crunchy drums for the M1. 606, clean 606, and they appear here. And on the right hand side, and you'll notice we've got them all split into the different pads. Well, pads 1 to 8 and plus on 9, that's the top 4 sample slots. So everything's already pre-organized. If you want something with distortion on it, it has to be on the bass drum. If you want something with a high pass filter, it's got to be on the crash cymbal or the snare drum, for example. So you've got to be quite organized when you do this. And I've notice that you've got to select it, and when you select it, you do have an auto preview you can turn on or off, but you have to select it first before dragging it into the right folder. So clean kick. Did that work? Sometimes it does. I put the hi-hat in because the hi-hat was at the top there. So this is a little bit fiddly at times. Let's go back up again. Let's try that again. So I'll put the auto preview on, which I find if you leave that on and then you definitely play it, it will do it. So did something happen then? There you go. Yeah, it did. So snare drum, play it, bring it in. We don't have a hand clap. I'll put this hat 2 on the hand clap. And that's because on the 606, I think it's when you've got the open hi-hat and the closed hi-hat, or the closed hi-hat with an accent, you get actually a different sample playing. And we don't have any samples to put into that. If we go into kit edit now, go into kit edit and let's go to a new kit, 24. There's nothing in there. So let's start adding things in. So just touch it and it goes in. You don't have to drag and drop. It's just a case of sort of ticking the box. And I found if you're going to do this with lots of samples, do it the way I'm doing it here. So do it one sample or one kit at a time. Otherwise you end up trying to find things, so you can see you've got lots of stuff in there. I loaded all these in initially and then tried to make the kits, and that meant I had to scroll through looking for things, which was a bit of a pain. So do one at a time. Hat 2, closed hat. And imagine if you've got an awful lot of samples, because there is 4 gigs worth in here, you do have to be, or you will have to be careful. Anyway, as we're doing that, that's already loaded it all into the drum machine. So let's go into the kit, load kit 24. And there we go. And if we come into here and we'll save that as, save it as 606. Come back into this, go into the kits, there it is, labeled TR606. And I think that about covers it. We've not really mentioned songs too much, but we've got beats, we've got 4 beats, you've got a fill A and a fill B. When you save the songs though, you do have to use the intricate value knob to do it, and there's no spaces on there, so you can't have a space in your name, which is just a weird little thing that I noticed. Other than that, there's been a couple of times I've had little glitches on it where I've been inputting something and then on like the step sequencer and it's just not registered, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's me doing something wrong or if it's just a little bit glitchy at times. Could well be me having fat fingers and doing something, but I've not really quite got to the bottom of that yet. The other thing, saving the kits. I did save some kits. I did a firmware update and messed it up, and then tried to reload my kits in. So all those kits that you saw on there, they were originally all inside the machine. And then when I reloaded the kits, I don't know what I did, but I've lost them all, and it won't bring them back in. So I don't know if that's because it was an older firmware I was using, or whether I've done something wrong. But that's the reason why I haven't actually redone all the kits, just in case the kits are referring to samples in the machine, and then if you load the samples in, they'll be in a different position, so they won't work anyway. I don't know, but I'm not spending my time doing that. Do let me know if you manage to do that, and you can share them between each other. That would be great, because it's taken me quite a while to put all that together. But I do like it because it turns this into like a little portable old drum machine. I know that's not what it's meant to be, but it's where I found I've really enjoyed using it, actually. What else have I missed out? I did write a couple of things down, actually. Yeah, it'd be great to have more performance orientated effects in there. It would have been great if there was something like an overall master filter. I don't know if they could do that with a shift and the effects return once you're in some sort of mode, perhaps once you were playing the song. And it turns out pretty much everything else I thought would make a nice addition is included in this. It's Donna's version 1.1 firmware update that's coming in September 2024. And I imagine it'll iron out any of the little glitches that I've encountered as well. I'll have to see if they can add reverb and delay stems to parameter locks, and maybe a DJ style overall master filter, maybe using shift plus the effects send controller, turn it anti-clockwise for low pass and clockwise for high pass or something like that. That'd be very nice. The budget end of the market is pretty crowded. There's the modal samples. We've now even got the Teenage Engineering EP1320 Medieval Edition, as well as things like the Volca sample. So there's plenty to look at in this price range. Yeah, I get it. I like it. I've got other drum machines that are better, but I haven't got a drum machine this cheap. So I think it's a great little thing, actually. It's a fun little thing. Just like the Donna B1, I really like that. This is good. Don't expect it to be an analog rhythm, but you wouldn't, would you? Because, it's a much more budget unit. Anyway, I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do think about subscribing, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon, because patrons get access to patches, samples, tutorials, and other little goodies, all for the price of a dodgy coffee a month. And also do take a look at my starskycar.com website. Again, there's patches, there's samples, there's stuff to buy, and there's free stuff as well. But pick up some of the cheaper bits, because it really does all help to support the channel. Anyway, thanks for staying to the very end, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and do click on the link and download those samples, because they'll work in anything, but I have made them specifically at mono 16 kilohertz 16-bit 44 kilohertz for this. So see you soon.